All right, so we're going to be talking about part 2. In this lesson today, I'm not really going to be teaching you anything new, but more or less just kind of reminding you of things that we've learned before. Some important information we talked in the first part of this video from yesterday was the volume of a prism always is going to equal base times height, but remember there's a capital B there, which means it is talking about the area of the entire base. So you've got to figure out what is the base. Is it a rectangle, a square, or a triangle? And then you're going to use these formulas to plug in there for that capital B. Always remember prisms have two bases and that the volume units are going to be cubed. So the first area, what we're going to do today is actually a think, pair, share. So I want you to see if you can try to figure out problem A on your own before I talk you through it. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can figure out how to do problem A. All right, so hopefully the very first thing that you did was you figured out what the base is. The base here is going to be a rectangle. Okay, it's obviously not a square because the sides are different lengths. Then we're going to start off with our formula. Volume equals base times height. As I just said, that base right there that you see is going to be a rectangle. So we've got length times width, and then we'll multiply it times the height. So remember, this right here is just talking about the base of our object. And as you can see, this is the base of our object. Remember, there's going to be two bases, a top and a bottom, that have the same exact length. So those are going to be my two bases. All right, so the length, if you remember, it's going to be that 8.5. So we've got this as our length right here. So let's plug in for the length. That's going to be 8.5. My width is going to be this side that's over here, which is 5 centimeters. And then the height of the entire object is that area going up and down right there, and I'm going to multiply it times 6. So remember, you always want to do whatever is inside of your parentheses first before you do anything else. So we'll multiply together 8.5 or 5 times 8.5. or 8.5 times 5, either way, order doesn't matter for that. And we're going to get 42.5, and then multiply that times the height, and that gives you the entire volume of the object, which is 255, and please remember with your units, you always want to cube your units. All right, so the next problem that you're once again just kind of reviewing over is problem B. You can see this right here, remember, you're trying to find out what has two bases. If I'm counting 2, I can see there's a triangle right here, and then also I can see that there's a triangle in the back. So obviously, my bases are going to be these triangles right here. So I'm going to start off with writing down that the base is a triangle. And then let's start off with our formula. Volume equals capital base times height. Remember, this base right here is talking about the base of the object. The base of our object is a triangle. So for that base, I'm going to put the formula for the area of a triangle, half times base times height. And then remember, we still have to multiply times the height of the entire prism. I want you to pause the video, see if you can plug in the numbers and get this next part on your own. All right, let's see what you figured out all on your own. Remember, we're taking the base of that triangle. So we've got half times the base down there is 10, times the height was 8. And then remember, imagine kind of turning this object and putting that triangle at the bottom. Then you could see, if you do that, this would be the height leading up to the top of the other triangle. So the height there is going to be times 12. All right, so if we did some mental math here, easiest thing to do probably is that 10 times 8. We know 10 times 8 is 80. So when you're multiplying those together, 10 times 8 is 80, and then you're going to take half of that, so half of 80 equals 40. So we know that is 40 times 12, which will give us the volume of this prism, 480 yards cubed. hopefully that kind of helps you with how to find volume of things. Just remember, always focus on what the base is for the volume. Now I'm going to do some other review type problems that you're going to find on your homework assignment today. Sometimes it can be really tricky going back and forth between surface area and volume. So I want you to go ahead and think back to surface area of a regular pyramid. We talked about how important it is to figure out what the base is. Remember, the base is at the bottom. The cool thing about a pyramid is there's only ever going to be one base. So right here you can see it only gives me this one length right here. If it's only giving you one, then that's telling me that all the other lengths around at the bottom are going to be the same as that. So that should hopefully tell you pretty clearly that the bottom there is going to be a square. So if you remember with surface area, we're going to start with SA for surface area equals whatever the base is. We're going to talk about the area of the base. We just learned that it was a square, so because the area of a square is S squared, we're going to go ahead and put that there. Now I'm just going to write above it square so that you understand where we got that. That's because that's what the base is. Then if you remember, we have to add up the area of the lateral faces. I want you to put this into your notes because it's going to help just kind of trigger your memory, hopefully, of what we've talked about before. The area of the lateral faces. Remember this tricky lingo that we've talked about. The lateral faces are simply the sides that are coming up, and remember, they're always going to come up on a pyramid to one point together. So one cool thing that you can remember about lateral faces is you want to count the base down there at the bottom to see how many lateral faces there are going to be. Because you can see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides of my base, that means there are going to be 4 lateral faces. So let's start with this first part right here. Surface area equals S squared. The side, as you can see right here, is 4. So we're going to go ahead and put in 4 squared. Plus the area of the lateral faces. Remember, there are 4 lateral faces, and then I've got to multiply times what the area is there of the triangle. So remember, this right here is a lateral face. It's a triangle. So in order to find the area of a triangle, I'm going to be multiplying that times half times base times height. I know this is a lot to take in, so let's keep moving down. 4 squared. Remember, this does not mean 4 times 2. It means 4 times itself. So 4 times 4 is 16. Plus, we have 4 lateral faces multiplied times half times base. Now, this is talking about the bottom of the figure, which we can see right here is 4, times the height. And you can see the height of that triangle is 6. So now, surface area, I'm going to drop down my equal sign, my 16 and my plus. Remember, before ever multiplying this 4 by anything, I've got to do all the work inside here before I can multiply that by everything inside there. So let's go ahead and figure out what the inside of this is. 4 times, if I do 4 times 6 is 24, then I'm going to take half of 24, which is 12. Now, according to PEMDAS, if you remember, we have to do the multiply before we add. So I'm just going to drop down the 16. Plus 4 times 12 is going to be 48. And when you add those two together, you see that 16 plus 48 is 64 centimeters. And because we're finding the area, we are going to square the units. All right, so that's a reminder about how to do surface area. You're going to find a problem tonight in your homework about surface area of a pyramid. I am going to give you a clue about the first 2 homework problems. Both of the bases are actually a triangle. So remember that up here where we had a square in your homework tonight, you're going to actually put the formula for the area of a triangle in that spot. All right, this next problem that you're going to find on your homework tonight goes way back to chapter 6. So that's why I wanted to do a quick review problem with you. Let's just imagine that a store goes to a warehouse and they purchase something that costs $50 to the store. This is a formula that we had long ago that said P times of equals is. You might remember that. All right, so just remember the little parts of this. This right here is going to be standing for the percent that the markup is, and then this of over here will always be what the original price was. And then our is over here, that will be what the new price is. All right, so pretty simple here. We're just going to go ahead and mark in this 35%. Remember, that's our percent. We're just going to turn that to a decimal, 0.35, and multiply this times the $50. When you multiply that together, this is not going to be our new price yet, but it's going to be what the markup is. All right, so they are going to mark it up $17.50. So if you think about it, originally the store went out and they paid $50 for it, but they want to make a profit. So it's going to be $50 plus what the markup was, $17.50, and then this will actually give you your new price. $67.50 is what they are going to sell it to you guys at the store for. All right, so that was a nice little blast from our past, but you will find a problem like that on your homework tonight. So speaking of your homework, you're going to find it in the Big Ideas portal. Just look for 10.4, and I hope you guys do well.